Hello, everyone. Welcome to our free webinar with Prodigy Finance. How will you fund your master's abroad? My name is Ina, and I'm the moderator of this webinar on behalf of PrepAdviser. Today, our presenter is Mindy Venema, a Senior Relationship Manager for Prodigy Finance. You will have the chance to learn more about funding your MBA or master's study as an international student and how the Prodigy Finance process works. You'll also be able to get a sense of how much you can borrow, the rate, as well as an in-depth explanation about the repayment process. Just to let you know that you can send your questions during the entire webinar by typing them in the chat box, and after the presentation is over, our speakers will take the time to give you a detailed answer. So we'd like to check the sound now. Could you please write in the chat box if you can hear me? Great. Okay, thank you. All right, everything is set. Mindy, we can start with the presentation now.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that introduction, Ina. Everyone, thank you very much for attending this webinar, which will be very much about how you can fund your master's or MBA abroad as an international student. Next slide. So what we will do today is I will talk you through who Prodigy Finance is, where we came from and what we do. Then we'll continue on to what our student loan offering actually is. We'll touch upon what the process is as well. And like Ina mentioned, feel free to post any questions you have in the question chat box, and we will leave plenty of time at the end of the webinar to go through all of your questions. So to start off with, who is Prodigy Finance? Prodigy Finance is a pioneer in community-based student finance. What we basically do as a core business is we provide educational loans to international postgraduate students who are attending the top-ranked universities. Why we do this is because we find it very important to be able to give access to finance across the world, regardless of where you're from. We believe in funding future potential. And also, by funding you and by funding international students, we're enabling cohort diversity. On the investor side, which is why we are a community-based student finance provider, is we provide structured and competitive annual returns to investors. And our investor base is very broad. They vary from retail investors, family offices, as well as schools, alumni, and institutional investors who actually want to invest in these students because they believe it provides a positive social impact. So Prodigy Finance is a truly global company, and it's actually a startup that went global at day one. Prodigy Finance was started in 2007 by 3 INSEAD MBA alums who basically faced the same issue that many of you are currently facing. They had the potential and they had the capabilities of getting into INSEAD, but funding their degree was really hard, if not impossible. So they entered into a case competition within INSEAD, which they sadly didn't win, but as a result, a few of the professors from INSEAD who were judges in this case competition basically said to them, "This is an amazing idea and we want to help you out." So that's when Prodigy Finance was started about a little over 10 years ago now. So since 2007, we've come a very long way. To date, we funded more or less 10,000 students coming from 127 different nationalities. We're very close to having funded close to $500 million US in loans. And our default rates are still very, very low, around the 1% mark. At the moment, we have 3 offices, which are spread around Cape Town, London, and New York. Our biggest office is actually our Cape Town office. One of our founders is from Cape Town, and Cape Town is still very much the heart and soul of our company. And we're currently over 120 full-time employees. So what we're very proud of as a company is the global impact that we're having. So 82% of our borrowers said they had no other alternative funding options if it wasn't for Prodigy Finance. Also, 75% of our students come from the developing world, and 66% of them actually return home after graduating, which is amazing because they bring home all this like potential and potential back home. 34% of our borrowers, as you can also see from this map, are from BRIC countries. So our biggest group of students come from India, closely followed by Brazil, the US, Russia, China, as well as the UK. But I just wanted to reiterate that we are able to fund students from over 120 different countries. So this is just a slide just to show you just to give you a view of the universities that are working with us. So we work with the 100 plus top ranked universities worldwide. So in the US, for example, we work with Wharton, we work with Harvard, we work with University of Michigan Ross Business School. And in Europe, we, for example, work with Oxford, ESADE, University of Cambridge, as well as INSEAD. Then we move further east, and in Asia, we, for example, work with CUHK, with SEEPS, with Hong Kong University, and NUS in Singapore. If you want to have a look at the schools that we support, please visit our website where there is a detailed overview of exactly which schools it is we're supporting and what the exact terms are for each school. So exactly what is our student loan offering? So what we are able to provide is we provide student loans to international students who are accepted into these programs that we support. So one of the most important things in terms of eligibility is actually being an admitted student from the university that we support. Why that's important to us is we actually believe that once you are admitted to any of these top schools, you are a very good candidate. They've already basically done the pre-screening. You've made it into one of these top schools. We know you've got massive heaps of potential, and you'll probably end up having a really good career afterwards. The other eligibility criteria we have is that you need to be an international student. The reason for this is because we are a global lender. And for our model to be legally enforceable and to be legal, we basically need to ensure that you are traveling from your home countries into the country that you're going to be studying in. The only exception to this is the UK, where we are officially headquartered and licensed. So if you're a student from the UK looking to study in the UK, then that's absolutely fine. If you are a student from Brazil looking to study in Brazil, you wouldn't be eligible. However, if you're a student from Brazil and you're going to anywhere outside of Brazil, so think France, UK, US, China, then you are eligible to apply for a loan with Prodigy Finance. Additionally, when you apply, you also need to pass our cross-border credit assessment. So when students apply, we assess them each individually, which means that when you apply, we look at certain variables that you tell us in your application. I'll briefly touch upon those variables in the application process in a second. But basically, those are the very simple eligibility criteria. You need to be admitted to a program we support. You need to be international students, as well as pass across our credit assessment. So what is it that we offer, and what the student terms are on your end? So as I mentioned, the huge benefit that we offer is that we provide loans to international students. There's hardly any, if not none, no other provider out there that is able to provide you with a loan for studying abroad. A lot of the traditional high street banks, if you approach them and you are going to your local bank and you ask them for financing for a master's abroad, they probably will have a lot of difficulties assessing your application because you'll be out of a job for a while, as well as you'll be leaving the country. So they don't have the tools or the method to actually provide you with an appropriate financial instrument. So one of the biggest benefits about Prodigy Finance is that it's actually accessible for international students. We don't ask for any collateral or guarantees. It's all about you and your future potential that we believe you have once you've finalized the program you're admitted to. In addition, we provide competitive interest rates. As I mentioned, we're a community-based pioneering funding institution, which means that the rates we provide to students are basically the rates that we are able to access our funding at. which means that we're able to provide students with competitive interest rates. In addition, we provide a grace period of 6 months for full-time programs until after you finish school. So whilst you are finalizing your degree and whilst you're trying to get back on your feet, trying to land your dream job after you've graduated, you don't have to worry about repaying your loan. So the repayment actually only starts 6 months after your classes finish. However, another important benefit of a Prodigy Finance loan is that we don't charge any early repayment penalties. This basically means that if you do end up getting a really good sign-on bonus, or if you do end up in a position where you are able to repay your loan early, you're absolutely free to do so, and you only pay interest for the time your loan was outstanding, and there are no early prepayment penalties. So basically, in essence, the earlier you repay your loan, the cheaper it is for you. In addition, because we are not a traditional bank or a traditional loan provider, we are quite flexible in terms of hardship options. What this means is if you reach out to us, letting us know that you are going to have issues repaying, or that you're facing some hardship which makes it hard for you to repay your loan, we're there for you. We're actually able to help you, provide you the support and the room you need. But in addition, we also provide career services. And what this means is we have a dedicated team that actually reaches out to any student who is struggling to find a job or to repay because they're underemployed, to help them get back on their feet. So they do CV assessments, they do interview prepping, and so there's a lot of opportunities available for us to help you out in case you need it. In addition, there's also a stronger connection to the alumni and school community. The reason we're saying this is because many of our schools are actually investing in the program, as well as many alumni that have actually done really well or have graduated already. They've been in your shoes. So they understand how hard it is to actually fund the degree. And they actually want to invest in students like yourself, so in their future alumni. So by having a Prodigy Finance loan, you have a stronger affinity and stronger connection to that school and alumni community. So what are the terms for these loans? So first of all, there's a one-off administration fee of 2.5%, which is added to your loan balance. So you don't need to make any upfront payments. The only thing that happens is the minute your loan is disbursed, the 2.5% of your loan amount is added to the loan balance. And it's then amortized over the life of your loan, meaning that once you start repaying, you'll every month repay a part of that origination or administration fee. The rates we offer are variable. So there's a fixed rate, which is 5 to 8.5%, which is assigned to you when you apply. This is a rate that is individually assigned based upon your profile and based upon the school and course you're attending. Why I say it's variable is because we add the LIBOR to it. So the LIBOR changes, and we take a 3 months LIBOR. And depending on the currency of your loan, which can either be euros, GBPs, or US dollar, either the Euribor, GBP LIBOR, or US dollar LIBOR is added. If you're unclear about what LIBOR is, or if you're unsure about how that exactly would work, either please send us an email, add in the questions, or look at our website where we explain way more detailed how that exactly works. In addition, like I mentioned already a few times, each student is assessed individually and on its own merits. So when you apply for a loan with Prodigy Finance, we will ask you for certain information, such as where are you from, what's your age, where are you currently working, what are you currently earning, and more importantly, the thing that is really driving our assessment is what school are you attending and what course are you going to be doing. All of that together helps us to establish what we believe you will be earning in the future. Based upon that future earning potential, we then decide whether what it is that we can offer you in terms of maximum loan size. For us, it's very, very important to never overburden students with debt. So we're quite conservative in respect of how much we believe you in the future can repay every month in terms of loan repayments. The repayment terms is 7 to 15 years. Again, it depends on your profile and it depends on the school you're attending. But again, there's no early repayment options, and on average, students take 5 years to repay their loans rather than 7 to 15 years. Another term is that we disperse the funds directly to the university. So basically, that means that if you get a loan approved with us, your loan will be dispersed directly to the school. If there's any part of your loan that is dedicated to living expenses, the school will then arrange for that part of the living expenses to be transferred to your personal bank account. The maximum amount that we can give to you depends upon your school. So there are certain schools, mainly outside of the US, where we can only offer loans for tuition fee. For any school that you are looking at potentially in the US, we are able to give loans up to 80% cost of attendance. And when we say cost of attendance, we basically mean the cost of attendance that is quoted by the school. So that includes tuition fee and living expenses, which is what the school quotes that you need to finalize your course. And like I mentioned, the loans are available in US dollar, euros, and GBP. And the minimum loan size is either 15,000 euros, 50,000 US dollars, or 10,000 pounds. So those are, in summary, the terms and benefits of the loan. So I'd like to take you through the process now. So how does this actually work? So when you've heard this information and you're interested in finding out exactly what it is that we could offer you, I would very much welcome you to apply online. The entire process is super simple. Everything is done online, and the entire filling out of the application form should take no longer than 20 minutes. So when you fill out your form online, like I said already, we ask for some very basic information just to get to know you a little bit better. But more predominantly, we ask for that information so we're able to assess you wisely and conservatively. Once you've submitted your application, we will then perform an eligibility check. What that means is we basically check, okay, are you an international student? And based upon the information you have provided us, are we able to provide you with a loan offer? Getting a loan offer from us usually takes between 2 seconds and 5 business days. So a lot of students, I would say 50% of them, get their provisional offer instantaneously. So it's an automated offer. It tells you exactly what the interest rate is we quote you, what the amount is we're able to offer you, as well as their loan repayment terms. If you don't get your offer instantaneously, that means that your application is highlighted for further credit risk assessment. Don't worry. A lot of students are actually, like I said, about 50% of them are actually being randomly spot checked, or there's something in your profile that risk would like to have a closer look at. So once you've received our provisional offer, you will receive a notification and you'll be able to log on to your dashboard to see exactly what that offer looks like. If you're applying for a 2-year course, that provisional offer will already include a pre-approved second-year loan amount. The second-year loan amount, I'll come to that in a second, but that is already included in that provisional offer. So if you've seen our provisional offer and you're happy to proceed, you just click accept, and then you will automatically be taken to the verification phase. In the verification stage, we will ask you to upload certain documents. So these documents are all in order for us to verify that the information that you've provided in the application form is true and correct. So one of the things we'll be, for example, asking for is a copy of your passport, just to verify that you are who you are, and also just to make sure that we've performed our compliance and KYC checks. Another thing we'll be asking for is your proof of admission. So like I already mentioned, for us it's very important to be funding all these students that are admitted to schools that we support. And because we are dispersing the money to the school directly, one of the most important documents for us to check is your actual proof of admission. If you haven't received your proof of admission yet and you're still pending, but you would like to receive an offer, feel free to start an application already. And if you're happy to proceed and you just want to keep your application pending your admission, that's absolutely fine. Just send us an email, and then we'll just put your application on hold. So you don't actually need your proof of admission to receive a provisional offer from Prodigy Finance. Another thing we'll be asking you for is your credit bureau report from the country where you're from. and or from the country where you're currently living in. If you've never taken out debt before, we'll still be asking for the credit bureau report, but that will just be a check just to make sure that there's no bad debt in your history and that there's no liabilities that you haven't declared. Because like I said, when we assess our students and our applicants, we take a very conservative stance on how much we believe you are able to afford in the future. We also take into account any other liabilities you already have. So if in your credit report there are certain loans that you haven't declared, we'll just have to go back to risk and just reassess your application. Like I said, if you've never taken out any loans before, or if you have repaid all your existing debts, then that's absolutely fine. Then the credit report will just come back empty or like entirely fine, and then we'll just proceed and verify that information. So once we've gone through all the verification stages, then your loan will be approved. One of the things you'll receive from us when your loan is approved is a so-called loan confirmation letter. You can use this loan confirmation letter in your visa applications. So once your loan is fully approved, you can actually get that loan confirmation either sent to you in hard copy, or you can download it as a PDF, and then you can use it in your visa application. If you want to have a closer look at exactly what documents are required in the verification phase, or if you're still unsure, just have a look at our website, because all the documents that we ask for are entirely listed. The documents we ask for will also be listed in your application once you receive your provisional offer. So once your loan is approved, you will be able to access certain community benefits as well. We have certain deals available, for example, in respect of getting early access to US phone contract or getting discounted access to housing in Europe. This will all be available to you once you've hit loan approved, basically. So when you're in loan approved, depending on when your classes start, either your loan agreement will be available immediately, or if your class start date is further than 30 days out, your loan agreement won't be available yet. So once your loan agreement will be available, which is more or less 30 days before your classes start, you will be able to sign your agreement either from your home country, depending on where you are, or you can sign electronically once you've hit the country of study. So there are certain countries where we are actually able to provide students with the opportunity to sign their loan agreements in country. Other countries, we just need to ensure that you have hit your country of study prior to signing. Like I mentioned before already, this entire process is done online. So you don't have to print anything, you don't have to scan anything, you don't have to actually come into the office and sign something physically. Everything is done online. And once we've countersigned your loan agreement will be available for you to download on your dashboard. It will stay there for basically always for you to access if you ever want to go back into your loan agreement. So then you arrive on campus, we send the money to your university. If there's any money dedicated for your living expenses, the university will make sure that those are sent to your personal bank account. And then you go study, you have an amazing time, you learn a lot of stuff, and then you start looking for a new job. And once you've landed that amazing new job, you start repaying your loan. Like I said, you've got 6 months after your class start date to start repaying your loan, but you can start early if you want. One thing I forgot to mention is that from the minute we disperse your funds to the school, you'll receive monthly statements showing exactly what your loan amount is and what the loan interest accrued was. On your loan statement, it will also show exactly what methods of repayment are available to you. So it will show exactly how it is, how you can repay, and what the quickest way for you is to repay your loans. So that is more or less in a nutshell what the process is like. The only addition I would like to make is that if you're going to a US university, there is an additional step that needs to happen once you've signed your loan agreement. I don't know if you are familiar with it already, and it may be a little bit too technical, but I just wanted to confirm that once you've signed your loan agreement, we will send your loan to the school to be certified. What that means is basically the school is just double checking that you haven't taken out any other loans to fund your tuition, to fund your cost of attendance. And then you also have a 4-week withdrawal right. So this is very specific to the US and doesn't apply to any of the rest of the world schools. But that's just another step that happens in between and that we're very much aware of. So like I said, we have a very strong community of students. We have a very hands-on team. And this is just a very nice quote that we've received from one of our students who went to INSEAD back in 2011. And let me just see. And I just want to reiterate that we're a responsible lender. And that means that basically we believe in making the right loan decisions, being conservative, being extra careful in when assessing students. But we also believe that our loan product is supporting future leaders, and we're basically providing a solution for stakeholders. So that means for schools, for investors, and for students. So that is the end of my presentation. What we'll do now is we'll go through the questions that were raised. I see there's plenty, so I'll start from the top. What I'll do is I will read the question out loud, and then I'll answer the question accordingly. So the first question I received was, should we provide a credit history or a credit score from our home countries? So what we basically ask for is, depending on where you're from, because it's different per country how easy it is to access, is we ask for a credit bureau report. In a lot of countries, it's very easy and very quick to obtain online. We have a list of all the credit bureau reports where you can go, depending on where you're from, on our website, and that will also be made available to you once you hit the verification phase. So we'll just look at that credit bureau report. If for some reason you're unable to obtain your credit bureau report, either because you haven't been living in your home country since you were a child, or because it's simply not available or accessible in the country where you're from, just send us an email and we'll work with you to come up with a solution and make sure that we take off that step as well. I hope I've answered that question. So another question, it's a good one, I forgot to mention. So it's a question about, for global executive or executive programs, do you have the same grace period of 6 months after the program is finished? So actually for part-time programs, the grace period is a little bit different. So the grace period for part-time programs is 3 months after we have disbursed the money to the school. So that's a little bit different because generally when you're doing a part-time program, you're employed. So we're only able to provide loans for part-time students when they're employed. And because they're actually employed, we do start their repayment period already early. So the same grace period, unfortunately, does not apply. So another question is, how much is the minimum and the maximum for a loan? So in terms of loan sizes, the minimum is either £10,000 or 15,000 US dollar or euro. The maximum loan amount depends very much on the school you're going to, but also on your own individual profile. As a general rule of thumb, we would never go higher than 80% of the cost of attendance as quoted by the school. This is mainly the rule for US schools. For certain European and Asian schools, we have stricter rules and regulation in terms of maximum loan size. So the loan size would be limited to, for example, the tuition fee outstanding. So that's from a school perspective. Then the maximum loan amount could also vary based upon your individual application. So if you come, for example, with already quite a heavy debt burden, the maximum loan amount you would get would most likely be lower than if you come with zero debt in your profile. If you do come with existing liabilities, it is not necessarily that you will get a lower loan amount. It's just taken into consideration. If you want to know exactly what the rules are for your school and what the maximum loan amount is for the school you want to attend, please have a look at our website and go to the school-specific loan info pages, because there it will be outline how much the maximum is for each school. So the following question is, where does the loan go when it's approved? So as I mentioned, the loan will be disbursed directly to the university. In the US, there are certain certification providers that we provide the loans to, and they then take care of sending everything to the school's financial aid office. In Europe and the rest of the world, we have partnership agreements with the school, so they've provided us with the bank account details they want us to send the money to. If there are any funds dedicated for your living expenses, be in touch with the school to give them your personal bank account details so they can disperse that money for living expenses directly to your personal bank account. So another question is, do you have to be an international student? So yes, you do. So you need to be an international student and able to be eligible for our loans. The only exception is if you are from the UK and you want to study in the UK, that's also possible because we have an UK license. For any other country, you need to be an international student. So what that means is for European and rest of the world schools, there's certain restrictions on how long you can have lived in the country where you're going to study in order to still qualify as an international student. For the US, it means just a certain visa status. Basically, if you have a green card or any permanent residential status that allow you to live and work in the US, just double check with us whether that would still make you eligible. But a general rule of thumb, if you are not a US citizen, and even though you're still living in the US, you are most likely still able to apply for a loan. But you have to be an international student. The following question is, how long does it take to transfer the school payments, and is it an easy process? So one of the rule of thumbs we have is that we disperse the money after classes have started. We try to keep up with the tuition fee payment schedule from the schools as much as possible. But one of the things for us that's really important is that you need to be an international student and you need to have started your classes. So typically your funds are dispersed 1 or 2, sometimes 3 weeks after your classes start. So this is a very easy process. You don't have to do anything for this. We keep the schools informed. We send them monthly or sometimes 2 weekly updates, exactly detailing who is in our process and who we are going to disperse the money for. So the school knows exactly that it's coming. They've been given the heads up. So that's very easy. You don't have to do anything. In order for you to receive the part that is dedicated to your living expenses, you just need to make sure that the school is aware of your personal bank account details, and they will then make that transfer. Typically, that takes another 1 or 2 weeks after we've dispersed the funds. But we haven't had any complaints, and I believe it's a fairly easy process. So another question I'm reading now is, if I get a scholarship for 20% of tuition fee, will the loan amount still be 80% of the remaining tuition or 80% of the original tuition without considering the scholarship? That's a very good question. That typically depends on the school you're attending. If you're going to your American school, it would still be 80% of the cost of attendance before the scholarship. However, if you're going to European school, where our loan amount is limited to the tuition fee outstanding, it would be your tuition fee minus the scholarship you received. If you have any very specific questions about exactly what that would mean for you and for the school you're interested in, please don't hesitate to send us an email, because I understand those rules can sometimes sound a little bit complex. Also, our platform automatically updates. So if you, for example, are applying to INSEAD, the maximum loan amount you can ask for at INSEAD is the tuition fee minus scholarship. So that means that if you start your application with us and you enter that you've received, let's say, a 10,000 euro scholarship, the platform will automatically recognize your new maximum loan amount. So we'll tell you exactly how much you can still apply for in terms of a loan. But again, if you have any questions about this, just feel free to send an email to info@prodigyfinance.com, and then we'll get back to you in terms of the school-specific maximum loan amount. So this is an interesting question. So where comes the profit in for your company? So Prodigy Finance is a community-based lending platform. So how it works is that whatever the students pay in terms of interest is a pass-through to the investors. There's a small part that's called a servicing fee that Prodigy Finance earns for actually servicing the loans. So that is a part where our cash revenue comes from. And the other part is actually the origination fee that you pay at the beginning. So that is all like parts of our company's profit base. But I would just like to add, we are also VC funded. So we've got a venture capitalist firms such as Boulder Capital and Index Partners working with us and invested in the company as equity partners. Another question is, does loan cover 100% of tuition costs, or should there be an installment payment? So our loans are disbursed after classes start. So if there is a deposit fee due prior to your class start date, then that's typically something that you need to cover yourself. However, if we are able to fund up to 80% cost of attendance, or if we're able to cover part of your living expenses or tuition fee minus scholarship, for example, the deposit will be sent back to you by the school. So it depends on whether or not, it depends on the school how much exactly is needed of you, like upfront. As I mentioned, we try to adhere to the school's installment schedule as much as possible. If there's a big chunk of tuition fee due prior to the class start date, we typically have an arrangement with the school that you can cover that tuition fee payment from your loan, which is dispersed after. So that's typically the case for European schools. If you are in doubt about the tuition fee payment that is due prior to your loan being dispersed, by all means, make sure to be in touch with your financial aid office to let them know that you are planning on taking a loan for Prodigy Finance. They should be aware already because we send them monthly or bi-weekly loan processing updates. So they should have already in their system who exactly it is we're going to send the money for. If you're in doubt about that, as I said, reach out to your financial aid office or send us an email so we can just double check and reconfirm that for you. This is a very good question. So how long does the entire process last? So typically it can be anywhere between 1 business day to 2 weeks or even 4 weeks. So receiving a provisional offer can be very quick. So you either receive the provisional offer within seconds or within a few business days. How long it then takes to verify your application also depends on how quick you are in providing us your supporting documents. So what I always recommend is when you start your application and you want to proceed with the offer, then make sure you start collecting all the documents that we need from you. Just have a look at our website and just read through the FAQ page where it states exactly what the verification docs are that are required. So when you hit that verification stage, you are able to upload those documents immediately. Our team will then verify, so basically review your documents. And if everything is in order and everything matches what everything in the documents matches what is in your application, we will review and then basically approve your loan like that. If there's anything in supporting documents that doesn't quite match what you indicated in your application profile, such as we see in your credit bureau report you have a credit card debt or a credit card outstanding of a certain amount, which wasn't indicated in your liability section of the application, the team will reach out and just ask you for clarification and then update your application accordingly. However, if everything is in order and there's nothing in the documents that's not in your application or vice versa, that will get approved quite quickly. And I've actually been speaking to students who got their loan approved from the minute they apply to like a fully loan approved status in less than 24 hours. But again, it very much depends on how easy it is for you to like obtain all the documents and how easy it is for us to like to review them and to make sure everything tallies up. But in total, I would say on average, it shouldn't take longer than 1 to 2 weeks to get everything approved from the moment you start applying to the moment you hit loan approved. So another question is whether the loan is available for online MBAs. So unfortunately, we're only able to provide loans for either full-time courses or part-time courses where students are on campus for more than 40 days a year. If you are ever in doubt about the course that you want to do, if it's not listed on our website, or if you start applying for it and you can't see it in a drop-down list, then by all means send us an email, and then we'll just review and see exactly what the requirements are in terms of our funding and how they tally up to the course that you're exploring or that you want to pursue, and then we can see if we can add the course. However, online MBAs or diploma programs and courses where you have to be on campus for less than 40 days per calendar year are unfortunately not eligible for funding from Prodigy Finance. So another question is, can Prodigy support me to get a job in the country where I graduate? Well, that's actually a very good question that I'm very excited about to answer, is because we've just really increased our career services. So one of the things we offer our students is career support. So if you are graduating and you are struggling to find a job, we actually have a team on the ground available that will get in touch with you and just talk through what exactly it is that you need, how it is that you're struggling, and how we can help you. They'll then help you set up a plan, and that plan could either involve CV, like updating and reviewing your CV, prepping you for interviews, or just helping you broaden your scope on where to look and how to look. So that's actually something that we're offering all our community members, so all our borrowers. So if you do get to the point where you've graduated and you've used the career services from your university and school, and it's just not getting you where you need to get, then please reach out to us, and then we'll do everything we can to help you get back into where you want to be. Good. Another question. So another question is, can someone who has been fully employed get access to your loans also? Well, definitely. A lot of our students actually have been employed already for a few years and then decide to quit their jobs and go back into their MBAs or into their postgraduate degrees. So definitely, you don't have to have an employment history to be able to apply for a loan with Prodigy Finance. But it does certainly help. If you already had a full-time job, you've been earning a salary already, that helps us understand a little bit more and helps us predict a little bit better where you might end up when you graduate. So definitely, if you've already been full-time employed and you're going to pursue a new full-time or part-time degree that we support, you're definitely eligible to apply for a loan. And the follow-up question to that is, can I qualify if I opt for an executive MBA option? So that's partially yes, partially no. So there are certain executive MBAs that we support. So again, have a look at our website to see if the program you're interested in is listed on our website. Because like I said, you need to be on campus for at least 40 days a calendar year. And it needs to be an executive MBA that fits our funding requirements. So just from the top of my head, I know that we, for example, support the executive programs at INSEAD, the executive MBA at Oxford, the executive MBA at Chicago Booth, at Michigan Ross Business School. So there's plenty of executive MBAs we support. But have a look at our website to see exactly if the program that you're interested in is listed. So here it says, what if the university I want to attend is not a partner of yours? So if your university that you're interested in attending to is not listed on our website, I would say send us an email and then we can check whether there are any talks on the way with the university, or whether it is a university that we might add in the future. So in the US, we support all the Financial Times top 100 ranked universities. In Europe and the rest of the world as well. However, in Europe, rest of the world, we are very much relationship and partnership driven. So there are some universities in the Financial Times top 100 which are not yet listed on our website. We would theoretically be able to support them. We would, however, first need to establish a relationship with that university. So if any of those universities that you are looking into are not listed on our website, send us an email and we'll get back to you to see whether we can work with you to make that happen. And another question follow-up to that is, are there any conditions that, like students that can't work during their studies? Well, definitely not. We don't provide any requirements or conditions like that. However, a lot of schools actually have that condition, demanding full-time attention from their students. However, we do have a lot of students that actually perform consultancy projects with other companies, or we even have a student currently performing a consultancy project with us in exchange for course credits. So we certainly do not have any conditions like that. And it would be more up to the school or not whether you would have room and availability to work during your studies. So the question is, do you support any German universities for living expenses? So in Germany, we currently support 4 universities, which is ESNT in Berlin, is where we can provide living expenses, Mannheim Business School, where we can only provide loans for tuition fee. And then we also added WHU Otto Beisheim. And for that school, we recently added it. We will also be able to support living expenses for the MBA. We're currently in talks with HHL Leipzig, which is the 4th German school that we'll be adding to our portfolio. I cannot confirm yet whether that will be eligible for living expenses or not, but I would say keep an eye out on our website just to see exactly what the loan info page will show. If you're in doubt, again, just send us an email and we'll be happy to answer that question in more detail. Let me see. Another question is, if I want to apply in January, how far in advance should I apply? So I'm just going to assume here that that is January 2019. In reply to that, I would say you can already, if the class is available and open on our platform, you can start your application right now if you just want to find out how much you will be able to get from us. If you already have your proof of admission, you can already start your application, get it into a loan approved stage, and then it will just sit there waiting for you to start your classes. However, if you are unsure yet, or you haven't received your proof of admission, or you just don't want to start that yet, you can wait at least, I would always recommend doing it at least 2 months before your classes start. One of the reasons I say that is because it helps just to get that massive burden of how am I going to fund this degree off your shoulders. And also it helps you in your visa application. So if you have your loan confirmation from us, which is fully confirmed, you can use that in your visa application. So depending on where you're from and where you're going to study, I would say start as soon as you have your proof of admission, or if you're unsure and you just want to see how much you can get, just start your application right now. There's no cost involved, and it's easy and free to withdraw up until the moment when we've dispersed the funds to your university. So I would I would invite you just to start your application and just get everything done and sorted, because there's plenty of other things for you to take care of and organize before you move abroad. Let me see. I think we've covered this question, which was about working part-time whilst on a full-time program. So like I said, we don't have any conditions to say you cannot or you can do that. It's usually up to the university to tell students yay or nay on whether they can work. Some schools are very strict in saying, in telling their students they can't have a part-time job on the sides. Others are very flexible in helping students do part-time consultancy, study or course-related courses, jobs. So I have a very good example here. For example, I have a student who's from Greece, aiming for an MBA degree in Spain, whether or not they will be eligible. Well, that is exactly the type of students we're here for. So if you're from Greece and you're going to do your MBA in Spain, you're definitely eligible to apply for a loan with us. In Spain, we support MBA degrees at ESADE Business School and ESA Business School, both in Barcelona. And we're very close to adding a 3rd business school, which is called EADA, which is also in Spain. So yes, if you're from Greece going to study in Spain, you're eligible to apply for a loan from Prodigy Finance. So here's a question of, if I had a job offer in the US and I wanted to study part-time, would we apply for a loan with Prodigy? So that would depend on your individual situation. So If you have a job offer in the US and you're going to move to the US, just bright and new outside of your home country, and you want to study part-time, for example, at Chicago Booth, we would look at your visa status to see whether you're eligible. So unfortunately, I'm not a visa status or immigration status expert for the US. So if you're ever in doubt, I would say just start your application, because our credit team will then review your application to see whether you're eligible. We have, however, supported people that are international, living and working in the US on part-time programs. So the rules are unfortunately very complicated, so I don't have a straightforward answer for you. So if you're curious, or if you just want to see exactly what the situation is for your profile, I would say submit an application and we will let you know whether or not you would be eligible for the program that you're looking for. So here's a question of, do you have any specific countries from Africa who are eligible to apply? So as I briefly mentioned in the beginning, we can provide loans to students from 120 different countries, or over 120 different countries actually. If you want to have a look at this nationalities or countries we cannot support, please visit our website. The entire list is on there. If your country is not on that list, we're able to provide you with a loan. If you're an international student admitted to a program that we support. We actually provide a lot of, we actually have supported a lot of African students already. So that's definitely not an issue, as long as your country where you're from is not listed in the restricted list that we have published on our website, and you're admitted to a school that we support. So another question is, if my school of choice is not listed as Prodigy Finance partner, would it be possible for Prodigy Finance to reach out to the desired school to gauge the possibility of a partnership for financing? Definitely. It would very much depend on the school you're interested in applying to. I briefly explained it a little bit before, but in such a situation where you can't find a school listed on our website, we always invite students to send an email to info@prodigyfinance.com, because the list of schools that we actually support is expanding like almost every day. So we can always double check to make sure that no conversations are on the way, or if it's not on the way, we can see if we could potentially add them and reach out to that school. So if you see any school that you want to apply to not listed on our website, just send an email to info@prodigyfinance.com and we'll get back in touch with you. So here it is. What if I had 2 nationalities and would like to study in one of both countries? So that's a very good question. So for example, if you are both Brazilian and French and you want to apply to INSEAD France, if you consider Brazil your habitual residency, which is the most important part here, if you have lived in Brazil your entire life, and you actually have a dual nationality French, and you're going to study in France, then I believe we would be able to provide you with a loan. It would very much depend on where you consider to be your home. So one of the questions we ask in our application profile is, what do you consider to be your habitual residency? If your habitual residency is the same as the country you're going to study in, that would mean you're ineligible. However, if your habitual country is different, as well as your nationality, then you are eligible. If you have any doubts or queries about this, I would say either submit your application to see whether you will be eligible, or if you want to have a little bit more certainty beforehand, please send an email again to info@prodigyfinance.com, and then our risk team will just assess your situation and we'll let you know exactly what it is that you have to do to become eligible. Or if you are eligible, full stop. The following question is, would it be a more hard ask for a loan if you're from South America and want to go to Canada? Well, absolutely not. So we support quite a few universities in Canada, actually, and we've also supported a lot of South Americans going to Canada. So if you're, for example, interested in, if you're from Argentina and you want to go to the University of or Rotman in Toronto, then you are definitely able to apply for a loan. So that's actually the perfect customer for us. So if you want to find out exactly how much you can get from South America studying in Canada, just start your application online, and then we'll get back to you on that very soon. So do you have programs when repayment starts 3 to 6 months after graduating from the school? So all of our full-time programs start repayment 6 months after you've finished your classes. So none of our full-time programs actually none of the loans provided for full-time programs ask for any repayments until 6 months after you finish your classes. So what that means is you're still able and allowed without any penalties to repay your loan early, but your actual monthly payments doesn't start until 6 months after you finish your classes. For part-time programs, you start 3 months after your loan has been dispersed to the school. So that's actually so how that works. And again, I can't reiterate this enough. If you want to repay your loan early, that's absolutely fine, and there's no repayment penalties. So here's the question of, do we have the option to decide on the repayment time frame of the loan, or is this decided by Prodigy? Well, this is actually an exciting new feature that we introduced last week. So beforehand, it would have been decided by Prodigy. What would happen is if we would just assign to you what the shortest time frame was that we could reasonably expect you to repay your loan in. However, we've now changed this to a loan term optionality. So when you receive your provisional offer, you actually receive, depending on your profile and depending on the school you're going to, you receive the options that are available to your profile and to your school, and you select what the time frame is you want to repay your loan in. As I mentioned before, it's either 7, 10, or 15 years. But again, this depends on the school you're going to and your individual profile. But the options available to you would be presented at the provisional offer stage. So here's a question of the minimum limit for loan. Does it include the living expenses? What if I just need 10,000 euros for study fees? So the minimum limit would include living expenses. Unfortunately, the 15,000 euros or 15,000 US dollars is a legal restraint that we have to work around. If the loan amount that you're asking for is below the minimum threshold, one thing you could potentially do is you could ask for a higher loan amount, and once your loan has been dispersed, you can repay your loan early, like I said, without any fees, to make sure that you have a loan amount that meets the minimum requirements, and then whatever you don't need, you can repay early. Some students also tend to take a little bit more than what they were budgeting for, and then when they hit the end of their course and they still have money left, they just repay that down early. Just this gives them the flexibility to do whatever they think they want to do during their course. There's usually a lot of treks and international trips and conferences that students want to attend, which is quite costly. So that's why students tend to take a little bit more than what they were anticipating on using, and whatever they don't use, they repay early afterwards. So hopefully that answers that question. When you start applying for a loan, we will ask you to fill out a budget, and based upon that budget section, it will tell you exactly what it is, how much you can apply for, but also what the minimum loan amount is. So if you, for example, received a scholarship and you've received some sponsorship, the maximum you can ask for from Prodigy will automatically be shown based upon the information you've provided. So it's all very self-explanatory when you walk through the online application form. So here's the question is, I'm from Iran, but I live in Germany. Can I use my credit score in Germany? So we will ask for 2 different credit reports. So 1 for the country you're currently living in, 2 for the country where you're from. If the country where you're from is somewhere where you haven't lived in a really long time, if you've moved away when you were quite young, or if it's just very, very difficult for you to access your credit bureau report from your home country, please reach out to our verification team at the time you hit the credit bureau report stage, and they will just work with you to see if there's an alternative available or whether we can waive that requirement. So it would very much depend on your individual situation, how long you've lived in your home country, how long you've been away for, and exactly how easy it is for you to obtain that credit report from your home country. So very much individual. But if you somehow struggle to obtain any of the reports we ask for, we always tell students to just get in touch so we can work with you to get to that end result as soon as we can. Another question is, where is your company actually based? So I'm talking to you right now from the UK, from London. So our headquarters is in London, the UK. There's about 21 of us here in the London office. Then we have our biggest company is in Cape Town. So when you interact with our platform, when you interact with our operations team, they will be interacting with you from Cape Town. So that's where our operational, the life and heart of our soul of the company basically is. And then we also have a business development hub in New York, which is another 15 people. And they basically focus on the American schools. So when you start to interact with our platform, when you start to interact with our tech, everything you see is built in-house. And everything you see is built by our tech team that actually sits in Cape Town. And also our verification team, who will be reviewing your documents, will be based in Cape Town. So they will be the ones interacting with you in respect of getting your loan approved. So another question is, if I have home loans with the possibility of rental income, would this type of debt get assessed along with expected rental income? So that's actually a very tricky situation. So one of the things around that is that as long as the liabilities are in your name, it is something that you are ultimately responsible for. So we take that debt into consideration. The level of debt, obviously, and the level of loans you're asking for from us, obviously, changes per individual. So if you have any such loans, we don't actually look at future rental income. So we would ask you just to submit that in your application so the team can just take that into account when looking at your entire debt profile. So here's a question saying, also a very good question, is it possible to revise the loan amount if I get a better admit or, for example, an additional scholarship? So yes, definitely. So you are able to change the loan amount or even withdraw from your loan entirely up until the moment when we've dispersed the money to the school. So you're actually able to get into a fully loan approved stage for, let's say, INSEAD, and if then LBS comes along and actually gives you an admit with a better scholarship, you can withdraw your loan from INSEAD and then just start your application with LBS. You can also have various and multiple applications outstanding at the same time. So you can request multiple provisional offers from us at various different stages. And then but the only part is that you can only have one loan fully approved. So once you decide to go ahead with one of the loan amounts or one of the loan offers, the other ones will be withdrawn. However, you are always able to increase or decrease your loan amount that you requested from us, or even, like I said, withdraw entirely and start a new application up until the moment when we disperse the money. So if you receive a really good scholarship, or if you receive a nice exit bonus, or if you end up needing less money, just simply send us an email and we'll adjust your loan amount downwards accordingly. The only thing we will ask for is just for you to clarify and prove how you are going to fund the remaining part of your loan, of your cost of attendance. Let me see. Oh, is it possible to know how you assess the potential earning from schools? So that's actually one of our IPs, so I won't be able to share that, but what we've basically done is we have, based upon data we've received from various different sources. So we've received repayment, or careers data from schools, we've received careers data from aggregators such as the Financial Times rankings. And we've basically, together with the model, with the data we have on our existing client base, just keep in mind, we already gave loans to about 10,000 students, and we started this in 2008. So we are able to quite accurately basically forecast how much we believe you're going to be earning and how much you'll be able to repay, and if that's a good repayment or debt service coverage ratio for you. So we won't be able to share that on a per school level. I would just say, if you want to know exactly what you're able to get per on your individual level, I would say just submit your application and see exactly how much we're able and willing to offer you. So here it asks, I think we briefly discussed it, but I'll just repeat, is how long does it take on average from the time of submission of the loan application to the approval stage and real transfer? So the time of admission, so it should take 15 to 20 minutes to submit your loan application. Getting the offers takes a few seconds to a few business days. And then getting to the approval stage very much depends on the quality of the documents you deliver and how fast you deliver them to us. So once we receive your documents, the team will actually review them quite quickly within a few business days. Because everything is in order, they will just approve your loan and you'll hit to the loan approval stage. The real transfer happens when you, excuse me. The real transfer happens when you've actually arrived at school. So when you've, so the real transfer depends on obviously when you've hit the loan approval stage. We just had an example of someone who wants to apply in January. If you already start your application now and it's March 2018, you hit loan approved within like 2 weeks, which is definitely something that happens. Some students get into loan approved within 24 hours. If you hit loan approved in March 2018, the actual transfer of your loan will not happen until January 2019, which is a few weeks after you started your classes. So that really much depends on when you start and also when your classes start. But the entire process, everything is done online. It's actually quite simple and quite straightforward. So in general, it doesn't take longer than 2 weeks on average. So here's a question of which type of MBA programs can be financed, executive MBAs as well. So we support basically all full-time MBAs, all masters in science that are offered full-time at the schools we support. And at certain schools, we also provide financing for executive MBAs. So if you want to know exactly if you're a school that you're interested in, if we can support the executive MBA there as well, I would say have a look at our website and see whether it's listed there. If it's not, we are unfortunately able to offer financing for that executive program. But predominantly, all types of MBAs that are offered full-time on campus are eligible for our funding, if it's at a school that we are able to support. So here's a question about how is the 80% loan determined? Is it 80% of tuition fee or is it 80% of all other costs? So when I say we are able to provide loans up to 80% cost of attendance, I mean, that's the tuition fee plus the living expenses as quoted by the school. So the school typically gives us a budget or even publishes on their website how much it costs to fully finalize their program. So that includes both tuition fee and the living expenses you need to finalize the program. So if we are able to provide loans up to 80% cost of attendance, it is 80% of the tuition fee plus the living expenses as quoted by the school. So apart from the school, what are the other factors for you to assess the earning potential for an individual? So over 100 variables actually go into our model. So a few things just that we have a look at is like where you're from, what your age is, what you've been doing before, what you're currently earning, what sector you're working in, whether you're male or whether you're female, what course you're going to be doing. So there's a lot of information and data that actually goes into that model that determines how much we're going to be able to offer you. So again, if you're interested in finding out how much we are able to provide you with, just simply submit an application and then you will find out very soon. So what's the term of the loan? We briefly touched upon this, but the term of the loan would depend on, let me just see. The term of the loan is very much depending on your individual school and also your individual application. So it's either 7, 10, or 15 years. And what that would be would very much be offered in your provisional loan offer. And what's the typical interest rate? So interest rates are between 5 and 8.5% over US dollar LIBOR, Euribor, or GBP LIBOR. How much it exactly is depends again on your individual application and the school and course you're going to. So what about Canada and Canadian MBAs or EMBA programs? What universities are covered? So I don't know from the top of my head exactly which schools are covered in Canada. So I know we support McGill, McGill School of Management. We support Queen's University School of Management again. We support University of Toronto Rotman School of Management. We support the University of Alberta. So I believe, like I said, I don't know them from the top of my mind, but I believe those are the ones that we support. If you are curious about Canada or a specific country, if you go to our website and go to the Get a Loan page, we actually have a map available where you can say, you can scroll the world map, or you can type a country or a specific course you're interested in, and it will show you exactly what the schools are we support, where they're located, and what the loan info is. So that's actually a very useful tool if you're still very much in an exploration phase. That tool also includes school info pages. So if you look at our map and you've found the Canadian ones, from that site, you can also just click the school-specific website and it will take you exactly to the page of the school. So it's actually a very useful comparison tool if you're still very much exploring where you want to go. Let me see. So here's a question. So what if I'm a Canadian and applying to a Canadian school? So unfortunately, we're only able to provide loans for international students. So if you are a Canadian citizen or permanent or habitual resident of the country you're studying in, we are unable to provide you with a loan. So because we're only able to provide loans to international students. So here's a good question. So when are the exchange rates used for repayments in a local currency determined? So how it works is you take out a loan in either US dollar, euro, or GBP. You also have to repay that loan in euro, US dollar, or GBP, regardless of where you are in the world. So if you are taking a loan to study at a university in the US, and you take out a loan in US dollars, and then you go back to Europe or you go back to Asia or South America, you still have to make that payment in US dollar. Our bank statements, our loan statements that you receive every month actually line out exactly how you can make that payment easiest. So the exchange rate risk is very much on the student. So the reason for this is because we got our investors to invest in a group of students in a certain currency. So we also make the repayments to the investors in that certain currency. So that's very much something for you to keep in mind when you are going to take out a loan in a currency that's not your home currency. Let me see. I'm just scrolling through the questions. There's so many of them. Some of them are repeating. So just want to make sure I've covered all of them. So this is a question about, do I apply for the loan after I become accepted to university, or can I already apply now? So you can apply for a loan with us at any point in time, regardless of whether you're exploring, whether you have already admitted, or whether you're pending admission. So getting a provisional loan offer, you can get that at any point. So you can already submit your application, see exactly what it is that we can offer you. You can also already accept that provisional offer. Just let us know that you're still pending your provisional offer or pending your proof of admission, because that's one of the tasks you'll have to complete when you are in the verification stage. So if you haven't received that yet, no worries. We can hold your application until you receive that, or you can withdraw your application pending your admission. That's all up to you. So if you're just wondering and curious to see how much you can get, feel free just to start your application and then just continue and take it from there. So here's a question, which is a very valid question and concern, is what would happen after I graduate and I go back to my home country and my salary is very low and I can't pay back the loan for more than a year? So as I mentioned, because we're not a traditional bank or traditional student loan provider, we are actually able to work with you. So one of the things we can look at is there anything we can do to get you a job that has a better salary? Is there anything we can do to help you, just to help you or enable you to repay your loan? Just keep in mind, it is a loan, it's not a scholarship. So in the end, it does have to be repaid. However, the key here is please continue communicating with us. We understand life happens. We understand people can go through various hardship. So as long as you stay in touch with us and you remain that open communication line, we're able to work with you to make sure that you are able to repay your loan. Again, I'm just going through the questions. One of the questions is, do you provide loans to startup businesses or is it just student programs? So at the moment, we are limited to student loan financing. So we're only able to provide loans for students that are international, that are attending a school that we support. So we, at the moment, are unable to provide loans for startups or provide seed capital for new businesses or anything like that. Let me just see. Another question is, can I be considered for a PhD? Unfortunately, our loans are only eligible for students that are attending a program that is no longer than 2 years in duration, that are full-time, or if they're part-time, no more than 40 days on campus. So a PhD, which is very much research-based and which takes a little bit longer to complete than 2 years, is at the moment unable for funding from our program. Another question is, do you request for collateral as part of your loan application? So no, so that's actually one of our unique selling points, and one of the things that we find very important is that we do not ask or request any collateral or cosigner. So when we provide students with a loan, we provide that loan to the student because we believe in their future earning potential, and we don't ask for any collateral or cosigner. So it's all about you and what we believe you will be doing and earning in the future. So just again, going through all the questions, seeing if I'm missing any, because there's a lot of questions and some of them are repeating. So one of the things, question is about the Prodigy Finance General Scholarship Program. So Prodigy Finance provides $100,000 in general scholarships. So this is spread over 10 different individual scholarships of $10,000. And once you are a loan approved borrower, you're able to apply for this scholarship. How this scholarship works is we look at all the applications that we come in. We then make a selection based upon merit and need-based. Then a select group of those people that we shortlisted are then sent to a jury where their motivational paragraphs is objectively reviewed. They then select the recipients of this Prodigy Finance scholarship. And how it then works, if you are the lucky recipient of one of our scholarships, is that we pay that $10,000 as a repayment on your loan. So if you have a loan in GBP or euros, it will be the equivalent of $10,000. So it will be towards a prepayment on the loan that you would take from us. If your loan hasn't been disbursed yet, but you're still loan approved and your class hasn't started yet, we will prepay that loan for you as soon as we've dispersed that money. So that's how our scholarship works. In addition, we also have a Women in Tech scholarship, which we've launched this year. So another $10,000 will be available to a Women in Tech recipient. Let me see. Sorry, I'm just again going through. Keep them coming. So what about back-to-back master's degrees? So if you're doing a master in engineering and then a master in business afterwards. So I know that there's a few universities out there who offer dual degree programs. So for example, the University of Oxford offers you to do a master's in public policy or a master's in economics prior to your MBA. If you are considering doing any of these programs, a 1+1 or a dual degree or any of these, please be in touch with us because your repayment phase for your initial degree starts 6 months after you graduate. So that would be in the midst of your second degree. You then need to contact us for an educational deferment, as we call that. What will then happen is our credit committee will then review your case and basically provide you with an educational deferment for the duration of your program. So if you are considering doing a case like that, or if you are adding on a 1+1 course, just as long as you remain the communication lines open, that would be perfect. So here's the question about, are there any costs involved in withdrawing my application after my loan is approved? So no, actually the only costs are involved if we have dispersed the money to the university. So let's say you get your loan into loan approved right now, and you actually decide in a few months' time, actually I don't need my money, I'm not going to do this course, or I don't need your loan because I have other sources of funding coming in to pay for my degree. That's absolutely fine. As long as we haven't sent the money to the school yet, there is no cost involved. If we have sent the money to the school already and your funds have been dispersed and you decide, actually, I don't need a loan, I'm going to use my own funding, we will ask you to prepay your loan. The fees that are then due is the 2.5% administration fee, which will have been added onto your loan amount the day we have dispersed the money to your school. So as long as we haven't sent the money to your school, then there's no cost involved for actually withdrawing your application. Let me see, sorry. So a question about School of Laws in the US. I just want to refer back to that school map I referred to a little bit earlier. We have a very handy tool available, and in that same tool where you can look per country, you can also search per degree. So if you select in that tool you want to do an LLM or a law degree in the US, you basically select LLMs and it will show you exactly what the schools are we support LLMs at. So it's actually a very handy tool for you to actually see exactly where it is we're supporting what type of courses. And we do definitely support LLM courses and law courses in the US. I know for a fact, for example, at NYU, but there's plenty more, so I don't know them from the top of my head, but I would say have a look at our map. Yeah. So I'm just going to leave it here because there's so many other questions and we're nearly at the end of the webinar. I'm just reading through what's going on the organization side. I'm just going to leave it here, and then we'll collect the questions will be collected afterwards for me to answer at a different point in time, or for me to follow up with you individually in an email. I'll just hand over the floor back, and then yeah, I'll just mute myself and I'll leave it here.
Okay, so hi again from PrepAdviser. Thank you for joining us for this webinar. I'd like to thank our wonderful presenter for the interesting presentation and for taking the time to answer all of your questions in detail. To those of you whose questions were not answered, no need to worry. We will send you the answer via email as soon as we can. You will also receive a link with the recording of the whole webinar. And yeah, we wish you luck in your academic journey. Thanks.
Thank you very much for attending, everyone.